When Apple unveiled the Vision Pro, it was introduced as something entirely new. Not a headset, not virtual reality. Apple described it as a spatial computer. Early reactions were strong. Reviewers praised the technology. The experience was widely described as impressive. But even during those first demonstrations, a different question began to surface. Not whether the Vision Pro worked, but whether it fit into everyday life. Because while the technology itself was clearly advanced, the device was asking users to change how they interacted with computers entirely. And that distinction would become important once the Vision Pro moved beyond carefully controlled demos and into real-world use. At launch, Apple positioned the Vision Pro as a new computing platform. According to Apple, traditional screens were no longer the center of the experience. Instead, digital content would exist in physical space surrounding the user. During the announcement, Apple showcased the device being used for work, communication, and entertainment. Users were shown answering emails, editing videos, and watching movies on floating virtual displays. Hands replaced keyboards, eyes replaced cursors. Apple executives emphasized that this was not designed to isolate users, but to integrate into daily routines. In Apple's framing, the Vision Pro was not an accessory. It was meant to become a primary device. From a technical standpoint, many early reviewers agreed that Apple delivered on several fronts. The display quality was frequently described as among the best ever seen in a consumer device. Eye tracking and hand tracking were noted for their precision. The interface was widely considered polished and intuitive, especially compared to earlier head-mounted devices. Several reviewers reported that basic interactions felt natural within minutes. In controlled environments, the Vision Pro demonstrated exactly what Apple intended. The experience felt advanced, it felt deliberate, and it felt different from existing products. However, these impressions were largely formed during short demos or limited testing sessions, and that distinction mattered. Outside of demonstrations, technology behaves differently. Most widely adopted consumer devices reduce friction. Phones are used in seconds. Laptops open and close quickly. The Vision Pro introduces additional steps before any task begins. The device must be worn, the fit adjusted, the external battery connected. Individually, these steps are minor, but repeated throughout the day, they create friction, especially for tasks that are already simple: checking messages, browsing the web, watching short videos. The Vision Pro turns these actions into intentional activities, and that changes how often people choose to do them. This gap became more visible once the Vision Pro reached consumers. Shortly after release, videos began circulating online showing people using the device in public spaces: airports, coffee shops, airplanes. In many of these clips, the reaction from others was noticeable. Not hostility, but uncertainty. Phones and laptops have established social norms. There's a shared understanding of when and how they are used. The Vision Pro entered public spaces without that context. There was no widely accepted reason to wear it in everyday environments. And without shared norms, perception became part of the experience. Apple users are accustomed to products that integrate seamlessly into an existing ecosystem. Look at the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac. At launch, the Vision Pro offered a limited number of experiences built specifically for spatial computing. While many existing apps could be used in a virtual format, few provided a clear reason to choose the headset over other devices. There was no single daily task that clearly belonged on the Vision Pro instead of on a phone or laptop. Without a defining habit, the device remained optional. And the truth is, optional technology rarely becomes essential. The Vision Pro also entered the market at a price far above Apple's other consumer devices. At $3,499, it was more expensive than a MacBook Pro, an iPhone, and an iPad combined. That price immediately narrowed its audience. For most users, the Vision Pro was not an impulse purchase, it was a deliberate decision. At the same time, Apple initially made the device available in limited quantities and in a small number of locations. Early on, that scarcity created attention. Videos of long demo lines circulated online, appointments filled quickly, public curiosity was high. But scarcity does not equal sustained demand. Once the novelty passed and availability widened, interest began to slow down significantly. The question then shifted from when people could try the Vision Pro to why they would actually want to use it regularly. The Apple Vision Pro did not struggle because of a lack of innovation. By most accounts, it demonstrated significant technical capability. What it revealed instead was a familiar challenge in consumer technology. Adoption depends less on what a product can do and more on how naturally it fits into existing behavior. The most successful tools do not demand attention. They reduce effort. They shorten actions. They fade into routine. The Vision Pro asked users to adapt first, and for many, that adjustment required more effort than the benefits justified. Not because the technology failed, but because everyday habits are difficult to replace.